everyone. Here I am today again with another Freedom to Feel conversation. And my guest is Dr. Nishat Shams. She is a physician and a health psychologist with over 15 years of experience in the field. In 2020, she was appointed as an online adjunct professor at Grand Canyon University in the United States, where she teaches counseling and psychology courses to graduate students. She is also the founder of soultherapycounseling.com. So, this is my brief introduction about Nishat, but now perhaps my most important question, if there is something that's very important in this lifetime, is who is Nishat in her own words?
Okay. So the introduction, thank you for having me first. It's a
Thank
privilege to
you.
be here and having my voice.
Huh.
So the in nutshell, I'm professional and a clinician, and with the I'm very privileged to be in this profession because through this is the one way of making difference in people's life.
Right,
And my entire career, like class 16, this is what I am doing. So that's my
right,
my compassion, my commitment as a person to my professional world and professional life.
right.
Now, the other side of mine, that I'm a mother, I'm a daughter,
Yeah,
I'm the only daughter, and I'm mother of two beautiful teenagers, and I'm also a wife.
yeah,
And as a woman, to balance these two roles, and if you, because you just mentioned that I am in few important putting my fingers or hand in different professions. So to
yeah,
balance this professional life and maintaining my personal or my individual roles, I think where I see myself, this is where my strength is. I
mm,
balance both beautifully,
yeah,
and I have been balancing that for a long time now.
mm,
So professionally, quite strong, I would
yeah,
say, and my seeing my own kids growing and the peace in my home and the harmony that I see in my family.
right,
I think this is another strong area of mine.
right.
So
Wow.
this is where I see myself.
Yes, it sounds beautiful though. I love the balance piece, the harmony. I also read that word, this concept of harmony on your website, finding harmony. I believe it says finding harmony within. So, how did you, um, how did you come to do or to be the woman, the person, the human being that you are today, Nishat? Did this come from practice, from, let's say, your upbringing, being taught how to be, spiritual views? I would love to know more the backstory of who Nishat is today.
Valerie, I'm coming from a home which is very uh, multicultural. My mother is from India. My
Yeah,
father is an Arab,
yeah,
and I am from United States. So I grew in a multicultural environment. So one thing is for sure, I'm very sensitive and respectful to different culture and their needs. And I speak three different languages.
wow,
Um, Being a physician, I would say that was the passion and the dream of my family.
yeah,
That was not my
huh,
choice, 100%.
yeah,
But I'm coming from a culture where we respect the family and the parents' desire and wishes. So I followed that,
yeah,
and I got my degree as an MD, and then I got an opportunity to work in United States. And while working as a physician, Valerie, I start realizing that though I'm a physician, I'm a doctor, but we are not seeing the human being from a holistic
Mm,
point.
right,
So if I'm seeing a patient with a blood pressure or any other medical problem, I would just focus on that with
right,
uh, dosing and bombarding with the medication.
right.
The other part of the human being, which is the psychological or the mental or emotional well-being, it
Yeah,
was never well addressed from
yeah,
the way I had the training and I was working.
right.
So I started realizing in few years of my practice that I'm not fitting well in the
Mm,
profession because I
yeah,
wanted to know more about clients and about my patients. And the patient is kind of a revolving door, particularly in the psychiatric, because the depression, medication, hospital, go back, come back again. So
right.
that was this area that started making me realize that I had to look something. What else? What is the other option? How do I
Right.
fulfill this a holistic picture? How can
Yeah.
I make a big difference? How do I cut down these hospitalizations? And
Right.
that led to learning about psychology and counseling.
Mm,
My
yeah.
background is from Arab world, where this profession was not uh, very much accepted.
Yeah.
We don't see much improvement or progress in there. The time when I was studying, so in US, the I quit the medicine and got into counseling school, psychology university,
Yeah.
and there I got my because I already had the bachelor's, I got my master's and got the license, and then landed into counseling and the psychology. And then gradually I kept the two profession together and then come 100% as a
Mhm.
counselor.
Mm,
And then I find the gratification. I mean, obviously there was a huge amount of the financial
yeah.
loss
Yeah.
from leaving medicine, coming as a psychologist or a counselor
Yeah.
at that time. But I think there was a different kind of satisfaction I was having.
Yeah.
My the the way my I was seeing the the change, the transforming my clients, children, women, and I think that was something that no money could buy, and
Mm,
that was where it start getting more into this profession.
yes.
And then I decided to go further, and then I got my PhD in health psychology because I have a
Right.
background with the with the medicine, so it's well blended. My information was quite enhanced as a physician,
Right.
and so that I think that was the whole journey. That my own kind of
Mm,
not the satisfaction that I was looking in the profession that made me
right.
change the from this physician to a psychology, and then stayed in there.
Wow. The yeah, you see that it's a very clear understanding for me. You made that point very clear about when we are dissatisfied in a sense of being actually suffering. That's what I see, experiencing any kind of pain, emotional, psychological, physical. That's what we need to do. Find ways to change it, to shift, to move, to do something that we can either integrate or kind of come in alignment again with what is true to us, which basically doesn't hurt. I really believe that that's what we are here for. We see that in nature. It's so beautiful to see everything in nature flourishing, doing what it does without any hesitation. But humans, we a lot more complex. Of course, we got the mind, and that's why you do what you do. um, I do have a question for you, an initial question about mental health. How do you define mental health these days, Nishat?
Now, the way, Valerie, it is perceived, the way it is projected and reflected in this, in this world where we are, you and I, living.
Yeah.
I think it is kind of um, it is taken that a stigma and a taboo.
Right. Yeah. Very
The
much.
approach which where we talk when we talk about mental health, we look only two things: there's a depression and anxiety,
Yeah.
schizophrenia, all these fancy big names.
Yeah.
However, I,
Mm.
with my own experience and my practice, I realized the this mental health is could help you to from uh, transform or make you probably a better person, can
Yeah.
help you to grow
Yes. Yeah.
on the personal
Mm.
ground and
Yeah.
professional ground.
Yeah.
So if I say that it is a chemical imbalance,
Right.
um, it is not 100% proven even by science, by any research.
Right.
Uh, but it is, I see it's a phase of life where people got entrapped,
Ah.
and this phase can help them sometime to become more stronger as a person.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's the same like a physical health. I
Yeah.
have a problem with my body,
Mm.
mental health. I have a
Yeah.
problem somewhere with my emotions,
Yeah.
and as we need the treatment for our physical health, we need the
Right.
treatment for some of these emotional
Mm.
problems. The only difference is the way I see it. I help my client to grow, probably
Mm.
become more stronger
Mm.
by experiencing and living through this mental health problems.
Right.
So
Right.
coming back to the question, it's an emotional health.
Yeah.
It is same as no difference as a physical health.
So true. Yes. Beautifully said. How would you describe this state or this notion of being strong? What is to be a stronger or a strong individual from your perspective?
Now, one strength that you and I see is this bodybuilders and this physical health,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the um, the other strength, it comes sometimes from adversaries,
Yeah.
and one another strength, it can come from your sufferings.
Right.
And I see that strength that stay and sustain in your life, especially with the women.
Mm.
um, i had um, I had a divorce,
Yeah.
and I personally think if I that initially was a hard thing, as
Yeah.
divorce is a stressful, particularly for a woman.
Yeah.
But my PhD, I decided after having this trauma in my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
this adversary, this strength made me much stronger as a woman.
Right.
I become more
Mm.
related to the people who suffer from depression or any of these problems, because I
Right.
can feel that experience the pain,
Mm.
and that make me, I think, probably better therapist,
Yes.
better person, human being, more
Mm.
compassionate.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I realize that when I tell them
Yeah.
that, yeah, I
Yeah.
have gone through this depression, I know what it is. I think I give them impression, I give them this voice that I'm no different from you. I'm not an
Right.
authority.
Right.
So they connect with me on an emotional ground. I'm a human being.
Right.
So my strength, and
Mm.
probably
Mm.
sometimes the strength that comes out of that, and you become stronger and stronger gradually.
Right. Wow. I love to hear that. That's one of the things that caught my attention when you sent to me the information about Team CBT, which I never heard about before. That caught my attention immediately. The empathy, it says empathy brings healing. So the E stands for that, team, TEAM. So I want to ask you that question, of course. We'll be talking about team and you'll be explaining what that is. Before that, I do have another question for you. I wanted to explore that more within the team CBT therapy model. But before that, I'll ask you a freedom question. This platform it's titled "The Freedom to Feel." So I usually ask this question to all my guests: What is what is freedom to you in relation to feelings and emotions? Can we become free from negative, heavy feelings and emotions, Nishat?
If you ask me, there any kind of situation which brings different emotions, whether it's a happy, sad, any kind of feeling or emotion,
Right.
um, the the driving force is not that situation, and the
Mm,
driving force is not that event. The driving force, Valeria, is your
mm,
interpretation. So
ah,
coming back to your question, that can
mm,
we get free from these emotions?
yeah.
The question is what kind of emotions I am looking at, which I
Mm,
wanted to get myself out of it, want to get rid of it.
right.
My my these emotions, which might sound to in general way, it might sound very toxic.
Yeah.
However, it is a possibility that these emotions are giving me something quite
Mm,
strong. It
mm,
might speak something about me. Who am I?
right.
So
Right.
I don't
Ah,
go and say, I'm going to free you from there. No, I can tell them
yes.
that probably we will bring it to a level where you can cope with these emotions more
Right.
healthier way.
Mm,
So
mm.
your question to get free? No, I don't. I don't say that I'm going to. There, yeah, there might be speaking something about you which is beautiful and awesome. So
Yes.
how can I take it away from you?
That's a very good point. That's a very different perspective on feelings in general and emotions, right? It tells a lot about us, of course. It's one of my spiritual practices. I always see everything is happening here, not out there. So it's always here. Um, that makes a lot of sense. But let me ask you the freedom question in a different way, perhaps in a more broad way, open way. What is freedom to you?
I have a space to grow
Yeah.
as a person and let
Yeah.
the other person grow.
Mm, yes. So the freedom
So
to grow, to allow ourselves to grow, and to do the same for others. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes a lot of
so let
sense to
it
me.
grow, girl.
Yeah, that takes a lot of maturity of soul. I love the name of your website, Soul Therapy Counseling. That caught my attention also immediately. Soul Therapy. Why did you choose that name? Why did you include the word soul there?
Yeah, that the one reason was that when I started practicing the team, particular this approach, Team CBT,
Yeah.
we from the behavior and emotions and all that, we started looking how we can bring a change more on a deeper level from the
Right.
gut level
Right.
rather from intellectual.
Mm, yeah.
That's something that become more spiritual,
Yeah.
something that touches your soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was not happening uh,
Yeah.
where I was practicing. So I decided to give this name and
Yeah.
then change in people, not on the superficial level,
Right.
not only on the intellectual level,
Right.
but deep, they sense
Mm,
this transformation happening,
right.
mind
Ah,
tuning, retuning happening. And this is
right.
very inner core.
Mm.
So from there, this probably this thought came. I never think about that way.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
decided,
That resonated immediately because I know the soul. It relates. It's a word that it's very much used in spiritual fields with spiritual teachings, and But basically, that's exactly it. The work of psychology, isn't it? To uncover the depth of what we are, who we are. so we can grow, so we can be happy and find that peace that we're all looking for. So I do see your work as a spiritual work. I know I wasn't want to say that, but I have to. So, what is Team CBT? Talk to me about that model, this approach, Nishat.
Um, I would say the beauty of this model. Let me first explain this T. It is an
Yeah,
acronym.
yeah,
So T is testing, and E is empathy. A is the assessment of resistance, and
yeah,
M comes the method. Now, these four words is the soul and the fundamental values of this particular approach. Um, so the so I was a CBT therapist for a long time,
yeah,
cognitive behavior. That was my approach until I attended a lecture by a psychiatrist, Dr. David Burns,
yeah,
and who is the pioneer of this. And what I like about that, Valeria, that before
yeah.
I can educate and teach my client with this approach of team CBT, the therapist has to make changes within themselves.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the change, it starts from me, and then
Right,
it starts reflecting in my work.
right.
So
Wow.
it is, I would say, it's a framework actually,
Yeah,
which includes the cognitive therapy, psychodynamic, any kind of therapeutic interventions or any kind
right.
of therapy approach. But it's basically a frame, and then we
Yeah.
put in there. I think it is an only therapy where we ask our client that please evaluate us with every session.
Oh, wow.
And they have the right to criticize us because
Right,
what the research says, the therapists who believe that 70% or 80% I am patient is getting better with me or I'm really helping, it could happen that the patient doesn't find this all these benefits in the session with the therapist. So
right.
we give this empowerment our client to
Mm,
criticize us.
wow.
And the one reason is to be more empathic and build a deeper relationship. So
Hmm.
there's a
Wow.
difference.
Wow. That's a big
And
one. Yeah.
yeah, here and the second is the testing part.
Yeah.
We test in every session the patient problems to to show him that how we are progressing in the session. So
Right.
it's a very statistical numbers.
Right. Wow.
Um, with this approach, it could happen, and it already seen that we don't believe in forever therapy.
Right.
We don't
Right.
go too far with that.
Hmm.
We, if we are putting the right tools,
Yeah.
the we see the difference in the first session.
Right. Wow.
So it's like a testing part.
Yeah. Wow. What is not to love about it? It's a relationship, right? It's a nurturing of a relationship. It should be. Wow, I love that. So that empowers the patient to express himself, herself too, and that shows a lot. If you are able to express yourself clearly without hesitation or fear, then it shows growth, doesn't it,
Yeah.
Nishat? That's what it really is translating to me now. I never heard this way before any therapy or any therapist that I talk to. So this is very unique.
It is. It is very unique.
Wow.
Um, and it's evidence based, research based. The work is not only intuition,
Yeah.
the work is 100% coming from research studies. So
Right.
the core stay the same that we work under CBT techniques
Yeah.
and tools.
Yeah.
We are extremely empathic, and the empathy, it doesn't stay only that I am getting into the shoe of the client and understanding, but empathy goes much more deeper, building the
Mm,
relationship with the
mm,
client. So
right.
therefore, the main that E that comes in team is coming from empathy.
Yes, that caught my attention immediately.
Yeah,
Compassion,
yeah.
right.
This, and and I think other Valeria, which I really like to bring, which is very unique in this, it is the resistance, that is the assessment
Yeah,
of resistance, and um, one reason that I started looking something else, because I was seeing that I'm really very helpful and empathic and all that, but the relapses are very high in some clients,
yeah,
and I am also kind of stuck that what am I missing?
right.
And I realized that it is a possibility that a resistance is under subconscious, unconscious mind of the client. And that resistance is not letting him them move further or
Right,
recover.
right.
And that resistance might be giving you something very beneficial. And that is
Ah,
the reason you don't want to change.
ah.
So if you allow
Mm.
me, I want to give you an example of a client.
Yes,
One.
yes, please. Yeah, yeah.
So I met this woman, and she came with me with a problem with obsessive compulsive disorder, where she was washing her hand 10 times. And she eventually landed in my clinic, and she was saying that I want to get rid of that. And I said, uh, I can help you with that, but what's going to happen if you don't wash your hand? And she
Yeah.
told me that, doctor, if I don't wash my hand, I can touch my son with my dirty hands, and I have the germs, and my son will get sick and he will be admitted in the hospital, and I will never be able to forgive. Now
Wow.
the question is this, can this woman can easily get rid of her anxiety, when this anxiety is helping and showing me that she is such a loving and caring and responsible mother? And
Yeah.
this anxiety is also helping her to be very vigilant
Yes.
and keep the children safe.
Yeah.
So how she's going to leave this anxiety easily? Because this
Yeah.
anxiety is serving a purpose in her life.
Mm. Yeah.
That purpose is so strong.
Yeah.
So here we see the resistance that change is not happening, and then we
Yeah.
work on that. So we help
Wow.
to grow people out of these emotions, which in general considered like as a toxic. So most of
Yeah.
the time when you say the word anxiety, you will hear that, oh, I'm going to fix it. We will need to get rid of
Yeah.
that. We
Right.
don't say
Right.
that. We
Yeah.
honor, acknowledge, and respect
Mm.
that these emotions, because the
Mm.
change come from there. So
Right.
that's like a melting we then melt the resistance before we start working with the method. So I
Right.
think that is a very unique approach, which is very paradoxical,
Yeah.
counterintuitive,
Right.
but
Right.
it's a huge power in there.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah, and sometimes my clients is like, I never thought about my anxiety that way.
Mm.
And
Yeah. Right.
this is what it is.
Right. Right.
So that is like a few things which is a bit different from the traditional therapy.
Yeah. It's very different. Um,
Hmm.
the piece of empathy, it's becoming empathic with ourselves as well, right? So is this yeah, it's this circle of empathy. So it's just circulating. It's within you and then passing on, expanding to others, you giving to them. Oh, what a beautiful thing. So there's a reason why this resonated with you immediately, because you could see this being true, being something that could cultivate growth. I mean, it's clear to me listening to you now, the explanation of that in details. Oh yeah, please continue, Nishat. The method is the. I'm not sure if you did you uh, finish your comments about assessment.
So the question then Normally, I ask my clients, then why do you want to change?
Yes.
Because this is so much beautiful thing is you're getting out of this anxiety, and
Right.
it speaks about your core values, which is awesome and beautiful. You're such a
Mm,
caring mother. Why do you want to
mm,
change?
mm.
So then she
Yeah.
told me that no, my skin is getting bad, and I am
Yeah.
getting tired of this. So if you
Okay.
listen to that, my client is convincing me that
Yeah.
why do I want to change? Rather, I am pushing behind her that no, you need to change.
Yes. Right.
So that's
Ah,
become very counterintuitive and paradoxical approach.
yeah.
So
Ah, wow.
she has to tell me that no, doctor, I because if I see that
Mm,
the resistance has melted, and she wants ready to change, then the method intervention becomes very easy to go,
right. Right.
because now we all, yeah, she's open to us. But
Right.
this part only come when my client, when I ask them in a scale of empathy, one, I'm not empathic to you, I'm not understanding, to
Yeah.
10, that I'm 100% empathic. Where do you see me? And
Yeah.
she, until she doesn't give me an A plus in there, we don't
Yeah.
move to that assessment.
Oh,
So
wow.
we go
Yeah.
with very statistic
Yeah.
numbers from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
from there, then we come to the method part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
then there you see the cognitive approach start coming, that I think I did mention in the beginning that it is not the environment and it is not the event
Yeah.
that gonna bring any kind of negative emotions. It
Mm,
is the interpretation. So we ask that what is what
right.
exactly you told yourself at that moment.
Right.
And that is like $1 million question, that what
Yes.
did you say to yourself? And that is your thought.
Yes.
And then we start the math is applying.
Right. Wow. It's wonderful though. It's really truly wonderful. And I wonder why um I haven't heard it before. Nishat, is that because is that a new approach, or I never heard it before?
No, Valeria, it is not a new. Dr. David Byrne, who is a Gen professor in Stanford University now, he started this work with the Albert Ellis, the one who is the pioneer of the cognitive therapy.
Right.
And then in 70s and late 70s, Dr. David Byrne include few changes in the cognitive therapy,
Yeah.
with that, like this particular approach where we become melting the resistance,
Right.
testing every session we test where the client is standing with his emotions and with the depression or whatever he comes. So he added, and then he introduced 50 different method to defeat one negative thought.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think the Dr. David Byrne is not advertising
Yeah.
himself a lot,
Yeah.
but there's a good number of therapists they are getting into this particular, taking this approach, adapting it, marrying to it.
Yeah.
Um, and I
Wow.
think in this area, in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and Muscat, probably I'm the only therapist
Mm.
practicing as a team with a team approach.
Right. Wow. So I'm glad you're doing this work, and I'm glad I know about it too, because I have so many therapists that I interview here, and now that's what I'll do with this video interview, kind of share with them so they can get to know too, not just clients, but also professionals, because I didn't know this. It sounds really wonderful to me.
It is.
Um, wow, yeah, I keep saying wow, and I don't think the last time I said wow in an interview, because I'm really impressed in a beautiful way, in a very good way
It
about.
is.
Wow,
It's an
yeah,
amazing approach. I mean, I think we are all therapists, and we are all like most of the therapists which start getting trained with this approach team. We have been into the field for years and years, and when we started working, the first thought was, oh my God, I don't know anything. I was never so empathic. What I was doing with my client.
yeah, right, right,
So that is,
Yeah.
I think that's like a all wow for us. So once you,
Yes.
and then I start realizing that when I go for the training or for the workshop, group of therapists, and then you will find people from the corporate world, people, physicians, people
Yeah.
into business, um, golf players, sports. They're all
Mm,
into this. They wanted
right.
to learn this approach strongly and adapt it.
Wow. It's growing together, isn't it, Nishat?
It
That's what
is.
it,
It is.
right? It's growing together. That's what life, to me, this human experience is all about, growing together. And understand, you see, because understanding is such a huge part of it in relationships. Um, Kind of replacing judgment with understanding, with love. However, we behave or others behave, there's always the reason why. And I'm very curious about why some people respond, react, or judge any behaviors, my behaviors, or one humans judging each other, reacting, responding to one another. That has been always one of my biggest
Exactly.
observations. Yeah, it's just it's incredible to see that. And but this is a wonderful approach of working together as a team. I mean, basically being human, isn't it? It's being human together.
It's being human. Yeah.
Mm,
I think that's a right
yeah,
word.
yeah. Oh
No,
no, I'm
I said that that's the right word you use, that being human,
yes,
uh,
right.
and, and
Yeah.
connecting with yourself, probably.
Yes, yeah, it's almost like using the experience of teaching, of being a therapist to grow yourself. But then it's mutual. It happens in a mutual way. There's no difference between um, one human to another human. There's no difference really, um, at the biological level. Of course, we come from different backgrounds and all that. We learn so much, but I think the main difference comes from thoughts, isn't it? From the mind. It's overthinking, is the traumas. That's where we really, that's the filter that we use, the lens that we use to judge, to see the outside world. So we have our own filter. The mind is our own filter, and that makes we very unique and different. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes not in a not
Yeah,
so good way.
I think your, I mean, the interpretation. You and I
Yes,
have the same experience, but the difference comes that how you and I seen that thing, that
right.
event.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think from there, I mean, I think uh, this is what we strongly believe. This is a part of CBT as well. But I would say that in simple term, Valeria,
Yeah.
um, team is like a steroid you add in CBT.
Right.
In that,
CBT on the steroids, right?
yeah, the
Yeah, that's
treatment, the
it.
recovery, you see, uh, within a week, within second, third sessions, you start to. The one thing which is a big area in here is like what you learn with me, you will be getting everything. So we are very transparent, uh,
Right,
and a part is like a homework that you will be doing,
right.
because if you're not going to practice off the session, obviously the
Mm,
brain is not going to take new information.
right. Yeah, that's a very good
So
point.
so even if I am not with you after 6 months and you are having the same or relapse, you don't need to come back to me probably. You
Mm,
have everything with you to work on.
yes, all the tools,
It's
right?
a, yeah, all the tools. So it's you use the word tools, and Dr. David will always say it's not the therapy, it is the tools that
Mm,
can make a difference in your life. Because you
yes.
can't remember what the therapist told after 1 year.
Yeah,
The
that's
tools
true.
is gonna stay with you.
Yes, yeah. So it's the experience, right? And that's how we learn, right, Nishat, through
How we learn.
experience. we're almost at the end. I do make some notes here. Let's see. You mentioned that was developed by Dr. David Burns. I have it here, the TEAM-CBT. And then let's see if there's. I love the empathy brings healing. That piece of it. Also, I wanted to mention that TEAM-CBT is 8 times more successful than other therapeutic methods. I
Traditional,
read
yeah.
that. Or traditional therapeutic methods, right? If I understood anything about the method, it is that it makes us more human. It just brings, it's almost, yeah, it brings us to that realm of humanness, going deeper into what is to be a human, and not acting from only from the perspective of somebody who wants to teach or change, make change, but it's just changing ourselves that will insight that will inspire others to change. I love that. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful approach. Thank you so much, Nishat.
I feel privileged to learn and to practice this because it's make a huge difference in my life,
Yeah,
me as a therapist, as a clinician, my relationship with my children, particularly
mm,
my teenager
yeah,
daughter,
yeah,
my
yeah,
communication with my parents, my family.
yeah, yeah.
So and I think
Mm,
I've been practicing for a long time as therapist as a cognitive, but I think the change that I see in me, in my life, and connection of my connection with my clients, I think where this approach made me a different kind of a person. So
right.
I vouch, and I now we live in day and night with the team because I read a lot and give the workshop and talk about it and training, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. And I love that you trust. It's from the experience you have, you trust in that to pass that on, because that's the best way that we can teach anything, by going through the process ourselves, by feeling and knowing what that is, right? So let's see. I do have the ending. Yeah, I have the end. This ending final question for you, and then a technical one. If there is one message you wish everyone who came across this video to take with them, what would that be?
That any kind of problem that you have in life, or any kind of mental health issue you have in your life, or any kind of stress you be going through, that does not make you less than anyone. You still
Yeah,
is a beautiful, strong person.
yes,
These negative kind of clouds that it might bury you, but you still be the same beautiful person that you were.
mm,
The only thing is you have to find yourself,
yes,
and that you can do on your own. That you can a therapist can help you, but that does not minimize the quality you have and the strength you have.
right,
You
wow,
just have to find yourself. This I
yes,
do.
wow. That's a profound message that to me resonates as spiritual. It's that's basically the work of spirituality. That's the goal, that we can know what we are, so we can live this life with peace and enjoy, because wow, it's here, it never left us, but we tend to forget, right, with all the
Yeah.
traumas and all the misconceptions. Oh wow,
Yeah.
thank you so much for that message, Nishat, and for your presence here today. And before we say goodbye for today, where is the best place to find more information about you and TEAM-CBT?
You just have to type in Google. You will get into my website. You will find me in all the social media, and the team again. You just have to type, and Dr. David Byrne has an institute, Feeling Good, yeah, in California, and there's a lot of information about the team. I think we live in the on virtual world, so on
Yeah,
online
for sure.
Google,
Yeah.
you can easily find all me as well as Feeling Good Institute with the same
Mm,
approach.
so that's good to know. And I'll also have your website, soultherapycounseling.com. I'll have under the
Mhm.
video interview as well. Thank you so much again, Nishat, for your presence here today, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Take care of yourself. Thank you
You
so much for
too.
having me.